Ben Stanley, are you able to hear us? Ben, can you hear us? Like you're muted. He's our only online one. Okay. A rowdy crew over there in the corner. I like it.
I worry about the two up front and the back. I mean,
Okay. Okay. We'll get started and okay. That's never been used, so I just wanted to use that for the first time. Now we can say, why have a tool if we can't use it? You know, so anyway, welcome everybody to our commission meeting today. We typically start these meetings with a prayer thought reading, and we appreciate Linda who has volunteered for that. And then after, we would appreciate if someone would volunteer to lead us in the pledge. And thanks, Linda.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Almighty God and our Heavenly Father, send down those in office in this county the spirit of wisdom and charity and justice, that with steadfast purpose they may faithfully serve in their offices to promote the well-being of all people. Father, we are so grateful to be able to do this. In so many places, they're not allowed to assemble. They're not allowed to have a government to express their opinion. And so we just want to thank you, Father, for this opportunity. We want to have your spirit here so that we can be civil about what we say and do. And that as we leave this place, that we will have made a difference in our community in a positive way. Thank you so much. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Chaplain Linda Walton. And do we have a volunteer to lead us in the pledge? I'll do it. Please, would the audience please rise? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
beat me to it.
Oh. An arm wrestle next time. Okay. Oh, okay.
He also has no video as well. Alice, no video as well.
Do you want us to say the prayer again?
As many times as you need to.
Specifically.
We have crews up Hobble Creek Canyon right now putting signage out that we've got some pre-start of water running down the road and working, and so while we're stalling, maybe just publicly thank Sam Coombs and the road crews and every mayor and their public works departments. They have been working really hard to clear channels and clear those riverways so that we can hopefully avoid some of the flooding that's potentially on our doorstep. So just really grateful for all of those that have worked so hard, and sandbags available and different resources. So if you didn't know it already. So very grateful for all of those that are working so hard. Ben, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can hear you now, Commissioner. Thank you.
Terrific. Thank you. All right, it's my pleasure to recognize April's Employee of the Month, and this is always some of the best parts of the job. One of our deputies, sergeants down at the jail, was nominated, and so if without further ado, Sergeant Terry Hansen has been awarded our Employee of the Month for April. And let me just read some things that the person that nominated him have to say about him. Are you just a little shocked? Yeah. Yeah. They usually, so everyone's here for and hasn't witnessed one of these, they usually tell them they're coming to the commission meeting for something else, and then they find out that they're the Employee of the Month. So
we
congratulations. So I'll read some kind words that they said about you, Terry. Terry, during his service, is over 20 years, around 20 years, it sounds like.
This year, yeah.
He's been working in jail industries, housing, transportation, and probably the best spot for him so far is sergeant in housing. He wants to be the type of sergeant who can help all his deputies succeed in their career. This person went on to say the Webster definition of work ethic is a belief in work as a moral good, a set of values centered on the importance of doing work and reflected especially in a desire or determination to work hard. Most deputies look to go into a profession so they can help do good for their community. The set of values the sheriff office has is exactly what Sergeant Hansen strives to help provide, not only while at work with inmates and deputies, but in his neighborhood as well. They went on to tell about a story that recently there was, this person was escorting a high-risk inmate over to property for release. This specific inmate had made statements that he wanted to fight/kill deputies. The inmate was waist-chained, handcuffed, and shackled. Booking was busy, so this person escorted the inmate back to property window, took the shackles off, and then the handcuffs. Luckily, the inmate didn't try to fight me and took his clothes and started to change. I turned around and saw Sergeant Hansen standing behind me. He told me he saw who I was escorting and was right there in case something did happen. So this and many other stories, he treats both deputies and inmates with great professionalism. He never talks down to anyone about the situations they're in, but will hold them accountable for their actions. And so we congratulate you and appreciate all of the great things you do for the Sheriff's Department and for our county.
Thank you. It's an honor.
We'll get a picture down here with you, but did you want to say something before we walk down there?
No, I really enjoy working for Utah County. I've been here just 15 years and started at Salt Lake County, and it's awesome. I mean, everything about it. I've really enjoyed my career here, so couldn't be in a better place.
Well, thanks,
Better
Terry.
people, so yeah.
Thank you. We'll just get a picture down here with you. There's your.
Smile big. One, two, three. Very good.
This is All right, moving on to our public hearing. Do we need a motion to go into public hearing?
I'll make a motion that we do so.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Sakovic. I'll suspend the rules and second the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I failed to excuse Commissioner Powers Gardner, who is at a conference and may be joining us on and off via Zoom. So if she jumps in. Okay, we are now in public hearing to discuss the creation of the new Leland 2023 Ag Protection Area. I think you'll have a hard time finding a commission that's more excited about supporting ag and ag protection. And I think this is exciting day, exciting stuff to discuss. So we are in public hearing. Did you want to prelude it at all?
Yeah, my suggestion is to have Kevin
Okay.
come up and give a little information about
Okay.
this. As he's coming up, just to remind you, this is a legislative matter, meaning that the county commission have broad discretion to approve or not approve an ag protection area, or to modify or to accept out areas. That was determined. We were in litigation on an ag protection area years ago, and the Court of Appeals determined that the county commission has broad discretion to do so. That was the Kenyon Farley case that we were successful in defending. So we just be aware of that. We don't have these too often, but when we do, just want to make sure you understand the discretion you have to approve or not approve.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Thank you. And just a little summary on ag protection. It is, Kevin with Community Development, Kevin Stinson. So ag protection, it does help the landowners. It gives them an added layer of protection against several different things, nuisance claims, on changes from counties or cities on zoning and things like that with their property. It does not prevent them from doing anything that is already allowed in their zone. And at any time, somebody that is in ag protection, they can request to be removed. We do have to come and present it to the commission here. So it's about a month process, but it is a no cost to the applicant to be removed from ag protection. This particular one, the Leland area, it's just north of the Benjamin exit. We got an application back in about January. Let's see, it was noticed according to state law, the code, and we did have a protest period in there, 15 days, and we did receive some applicants that wanted to be removed and some that wanted to be added, and then Spanish Fork City as well had some modifications on some roads. All of that information was presented to our two advisory boards, the Ag Board and the Planning Commission. They were both in favor of accepting the proposal and the modifications for the properties, except for they were not in favor of the roads. They wanted those removed. That's the summary, a quick summary of where we stand with that, and I'm here for any questions and of course, public comment.
I think I reached out. There were landowners that said that originally had been put on, but they've been removed, and that process was pretty easy, it sounded like, right?
Yep, and in that protest period, they just simply say, I don't want to be a part of it, and this commission here has the authority when we make that decision to say, yep, those that didn't want to be a part, we won't include them. It's that simple.
Terrific.
I got a request that, as I was sorting through a lot of emails this morning, I didn't see this one. It came in late last night, but this is from John and Jody Clark. Are you familiar with that? The owners there? Their parcel number is 43-204-0003, and you don't have the information in front of you, more than likely, but he says he recognizes that this is a future project, but if and when it comes, they can revisit taking out area for the agricultural area, which is including, he's identifying a property, where is it at? Leave out a right-of-way for the proposed future Mount Loafer Parkway. He would like to keep the entirety of his property to be placed in agricultural protection area, which would not include that right-of-way for the parkway.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yes.
Don't know if you've heard
So
him
there
before.
were several roads. The current roads are the proposal were to remove the current roads that are existing there. I believe that there was a little bit increase of right of way on those. And then there's a future road, which is the Mount Loafer Parkway. That's a little bit west of the freeway. That's a road that's going to be built 10, 20 years, something like that down the road. And so he's requesting that that's removed.
Right.
Typically, the process is when we go in and put in a road, the county works with the landowners. They'll go in and work with them. If they're in ag protection, they'll work with them to remove that portion out. Or in fact, they don't have to remove it. They can just simply put the road in if the landowner is approving of that. But if not, then we can work with them in removing it and doing the process of that way and getting them a fair compensation.
Okay. So in this case, his property would not include any right-of-way.
I'm not familiar which property his
Okay.
is, but there was a map, and if he saw the map, then it must cross his property.
Rice?
This parcel, this is Bryce Armstrong, Community Development Staff. The parcel you indicated was included in the original proposal. including a signed petition from that property owner.
So
So they
no-
are proposed to be included, their own property, not the road.
Okay, so no parkway for them.
Well, I mean, I guess that's their opinion.
At this
but,
point, anyway.
Yeah, there's a formal period for that, for those areas to be removed, and that was included as part of
Okay.
a previous request by Spanish
So
Fork
he'll
City.
be heard more later then.
Not necessarily. I think this is the hearing. This is the public hearing. And I think what he's asking is consistent with what's been requested.
And that would be a future county road to continue that, or would that potentially be?
I mean, it is
Annexed
in
into
the
the city.
Spanish Fork annexation policy plan, so eventually it would be Spanish Fork, but
I see.
I don't know when it's gonna annex. You know, like I said, it's on the MAG visionary plan for 20 years, I believe it is, so it just depends on when that portion gets annexed in.
And this is Rob Moore, County Attorney's Office. I'm not sure, Richard's not here to address that issue, but that could be a, more of a collector road, which mean it would go from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, and it might be a Class B county road. I'm not sure. Spanish Fork's here, they might be able to address that if they know, but Richard's out of town right now to address
Jared's
it.
shaking his head. Jared, do you want to talk about roads really quick? I know you don't know how to do anything really quick, but give us the.
Mount Loafer Parkway would be a county road, so it'd stay in the county's jurisdiction. So it's the MAG road that goes from the state road SR1, well, from Elk Ridge all the way to 177. So,
And did you want to speak to the Spanish Fork's request on roads while you're up?
sure. Spanish Fork is just requesting that the existing roads be excluded, and just the right of way of what that future road would be. That's if they were annexed into the city, then we could build our typical cross section.
Curb and gutter,
Curb
sidewalk,
gutter.
et
We'd just
cetera.
build curb and gutter unless the land developed, then they'd build the beyond the curb and gutter. So a curb and gutter road would be, the 60 foot would be a 30 feet of asphalt, 34 feet with curb and gutter. The 108's 96 feet. 85 feet of curb and gutter in the street. And then the rest of it's beyond that. But we wouldn't build that road unless the property developed.
Gotcha.
But one more time, that would include this right away that he does not want included.
That's Mount Loafer Parkway, so that would be up to the county to exclude that. We're not asking for Mount Loafer
Okay.
Parkway to be excluded, just our existing city roads. It would make sense that the Mount Loafer Parkway would be excluded, but I don't think that at this time where it's 20 years out, anybody can actually define where that's gonna be.
And Richard Nielsen has not requested that.
Yeah, Richard,
Okay.
I'm sure it's because he can't define where that road's exactly gonna cross the freeway, but it's master planned, it'll cross the freeway from Elk Ridge to SR 177. So like the gentleman was explaining, when that project comes, we'll work with the landowners and get that right away.
Since
we
it took
need
us 25 years to get Mount Loafer done, should we start now? No, I'm just kidding. But
It'd probably be
planning,
appropriate if you want
you
to
know.
build it now, but yeah, the south end's being built right now. We're working on the north end with, just west of the airport with the developers, so, yeah, it'll probably be 10, 20 years. And the interchange will probably have to be built before that's happened too, so.
okay.
So none of the designs are finalized with that. So his concern is not a.
It's not
an
a
issue.
real concern
Not an
unless
issue right
Richard's
now.
going to request it.
Okay, there's no firm parkway design yet through his property then, okay,
Right.
okay.
Thanks, Jared.
Commissioners, let me address just a couple of issues really quickly. One, if you approve an act protection area that lasts 20 years, and then it's revisited by statute after 20 years, today, if you go through the public hearing and you decide to approve, you will be basically approving, and that will create a document which will create the act protection area, which gets recorded on the property and all the properties that are affected here. You would also approve findings and conclusions supporting whatever decision you make here. You don't have to make a decision today. You have time until I think early May. I think Kevin can give you the exact date as to when that decision has to be made by. So you're not required to make a decision today. Today is just a public hearing, but you can make the decision on the matters as well if you'd like to. Or you can consider other issues that have come up in the discussion today and then continue it and then come back next week or the week after and have further discussion and make your decision. So you have a lot of options here. What happens is if the time frame runs out, which is in early May, then it's automatically approved by
Yeah.
statute. So those are some of the factors just to consider. As mentioned, Richard Nielsen has not requested the parkway because what's been mentioned. And often we have excluded roads, like the Farley case we did.
In Payson?
Yeah, that was the same issue that was resolved in the Farley case. We excluded the roads at Payson's request, and Mr. Farley was upset about that, and that's why we went to court and were successful in defending that. So, thank you.
All right, we're still in public hearing. If there's anyone that would like to address the commission, please come up, state your name. We ask that if you'd keep your comments to around 3 minutes for us, then that'll help us. And then
Hi,
Doc.
my name is James Eaton. I'm one of the landowners. We live, our residence is on County Road 1400 West. I know, Jared, there's another city address that I don't even know. But we would just ask you to consider denying the city rights of way until such a time as the city has the land on the roads, until the city has the land and it's subject to development, because right now, all of these right-of-way applications are actually in county property. They're not in the city. Our road has kind of piecemeal city and county area in it. And when we were questioning the lady last time about this, even the city areas have not got dedicated rights of way yet. That was going to be at the time of development. So I would encourage you to just hopefully approve the ag protection area, but also deny the city's request for any rights of way that are still in the county.
thanks, Doc.
Rex Larson, landowner in the proposed area. I want to speak in favor of the ag protection area. With continued pressure from development and concern with nuisance lawsuits as people move in and don't understand accepted agriculture practices, I think it's very important that we have this protection in place so that we can continue to do what we want to do with our farms, and we have a corn maze. We'd like to continue to do that. I'm also opposed to the city's exclusions, and that I'm one of the lucky ones that has the Mount Loafer Parkway going through one of my farms. Didn't exactly want it, but there it is. But the good thing about it is the county came to me. They said, here's what we propose. What are your thoughts? And then we went through and I said, right now, guys, you're going right through the middle of my farm. How do I get cows from one side of the road to the other? And so they were willing to come to the table and say, okay, let's give us your ideas. And so I said, okay, let's look at maybe moving it over to the side of the farm. And Richard Nielsen and Glenn Tanner were there, and they were both willing to compromise or at least talk and not push their way through. It's interesting that one of the parts of the Ag Protection Ordinance, State Code 17-41-405, talking about eminent domain restrictions. A public subdivision having or exercising eminent domain powers may not condemn for any purpose any land within an agriculture protection area that is being used for agriculture production. By allowing the city's exclusions on these roads, they don't have to come talk to us like the county has done. They can come in and essentially do what they want to do. In my opinion, it's a takings if we were to allow this. Let them come to us. Let's talk, and then we'll see if we can come up with an agreement. But don't give them the power to just say, okay, this much land is not in an ag protection area, so we don't have to come to the table and talk to you. So I appreciate the opportunity, and I appreciate your willingness to protect agriculture. Thank you.
Thanks, Rex.
Nice to follow my first cousin Rex.
Tell us your name.
Landowner as well. My name is Lad Timpson. My mom was a Larson, and that's why Rex is my first cousin. I would echo what Rex has said when it comes to Glenn and Richard and their willingness to listen and be open to changes that may be needed. That I'd hate to see a road go right through the middle of Rex's house, or at least up to his doorstep. I'm not affected that way, but I'd hate to see him affected that way. I already had given up a portion of my land for what was, at least at the time, called Salem Parkway. Maybe this is a question for the person on the roads department, but how does the Salem Parkway differ from the Mount Loafer Parkway? It's the same parkway. Same parkway, okay.
Yeah, we need to keep our questions. We don't ask questions in the public hearing. Thank you.
What's that now?
Sorry, we don't ask questions in the public hearing.
We can answer your questions after, but
Oh, well, shame on me. Slap my wrist. My property wasn't a part of the agricultural protection piece, so I was given right to either, accept or oppose it, but in reality, it didn't affect my property. So I appreciate certainly Rex's concern about having that intact, and I'm sure other landholders who were affected and have the ongoing potential for agricultural use get that as well. I would just like to echo what once again Rex said, that with the impact that this has on individuals and their livelihood and so forth, be open, be willing to talk. And to this point, Glenn and Richard have been more than open. So I appreciate their willingness to, and I suspect that they will continue to do that in their roles in public works. Thank you.
thanks, Lad.
Jeff Peterson. I'm a landowner at the same time, and I totally agree with all that's been said. We're for the agricultural easement and leave it in that area, but we're just concerned about the right-of-way on the roads because they're going right through our property, right next out of our bedroom windows, and there's no need for those kind of roads out through there. And the two that's affecting me, I live on the same lane that Rex does, but the two is the Mount Loafer Parkway, runs right through our property, cuts our farms in half, makes it impossible to irrigate, and we don't need that. And then also, you're talking about a 103-foot right-of-way on 900 South. That's just on the west side of the overpass on the freeway. Well, between me and my neighbor's house, there's like 40 feet in between, and they want to go 103 feet, which means they have to take out somebody's house. And my neighbor just paid $750,000 for his house, which they would probably have to take out. And to me, there's no need for a 4-lane road over the overpass, because on the east side of the freeway, the overpass, on the east side, there's no way to make a 4-lane road there because of all the homes. And so I recommend that you don't give approval for the right-of-way on all these roads that we don't need out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
I'm Tad Waite. I'm a landowner next to the Petersons. I bought a piece of the Peterson farm 8 years ago. Basically got shoved out of Spanish Fork because of all the rules they have on their streets about parking horse trailers and having livestock in city limits. I used to take my horses and load them in the trailer and curly them off in the front yard, and they don't like that, So I moved down there where I can do it in my front yard and not have people offended by me taking care of my animals before I go somewhere. Since I've been down there, I've watched the speed limits increase, not decrease. The speed limit on 7300 South, which is 9th South on the Spanish Fork side, is 55 miles an hour. You go on the other side of the freeway, it's 30 miles an hour. You go down towards the crossroads, it drops down to 40 miles an hour. We have trucks that are loaded with 120,000 pounds of material, counting the truck and the trailer, coming down that road at 55 miles an hour. I've lost 3 really good dogs. One of them I had invested money in that over $5,000. It was a cow dog. Really excited to have a good cow dog. I was fixing the fence with the neighbors, and the dog jumps out and the car runs over it because it's 55 miles an hour. I'm for ag protection. I signed up for ag protection because I would like to protect what my livelihood is. I would also like to see street improvement so that my grandkids don't get killed trying to turn into my house because there's no turn pocket. I do believe that there's road improvement that needs to happen in a very responsible manner, and it probably should have happened before we okayed a gravel pit that goes through the middle of our agricultural area. And definitely speeds at 55 miles an hour. Thanks.
Tad?
My name is Steve Young. I'm with Young Development. I really don't have too much of a concern with the ag restriction. However, I do have a major concern with the roadways. Until this time, I'm not an owner of land at this point, but I have 4 pieces, actually 5 pieces under contract. And this Loafer Road goes right through the center of it on an angle. It actually destroys the layout that we already have laid out. I haven't brought it to the city yet. We've been to the first meeting about annexation. And we have now 6 different designs that just shows how we will design these parcels. And this road, we did not know was scheduled or thought of to go through that direction. We thought it was going to be on 1600 West and go straight up and then bow over and go over top of the freeway, not cut right through the heart of our property. So we have a real concern with that. And I don't know, if you have a picture of it, you can put on the screen or not.
I don't know if we can do that, no.
No?
Are you in the Salem side or the Spanish Fork side?
Spanish Fork side.
Spanish Fork side?
Yeah.
Mhm.
If you there's 2 10-acre parcels that hook on to 1600 West and 8,000 South that goes up north, and then the road for road goes straight up on the east side of that, and then it turns right when it leaves the first 2 10-acre parcels, of which I have one of them under contract, and then it angles right through the heart of the next 3 parcels. Right through the heart. It completely destroys the designs we've had. We've been almost 2 years working on this. Last year or 6 months to a year, extensively, with lots of designs, lots of money, and lots of how we will go about doing this if we're approved for annexation. But this would be destroying it. Now I'm a little bit concerned because I do believe in good roads that carry people to different locations that are important. So I do believe in that. But if this were to be left the way it is, it destroys everything we've done. Well, we'd have to forget it. And so if we get rid of that roadway system, it'll hurt for traffic. So we've got to figure something out. But it can't just go in such a strong angle. It goes instead of straight through and then going over the freeway, it just angles over and just destroys the properties. So I don't know how we go about doing that. I'm not worried about the agricultural area. I don't mind if I have a 300-foot restriction on my deeds, but I can't destroy the property. So we need to get with the roads department and find out how we can design this so it doesn't do that. We're out tens of thousands of dollars already if this were to be left where it is. And it would destroy the project in the end run.
And to be clear, Steve, we're not talking about just the right-of-way that Spanish Fork is asking to preserve. You're talking about the future plans of Mount Loafer Parkway.
We're talking about the future plans as it leaves 8,000 South and 1600 West and then bows over. And then it goes right through our properties.
Okay.
So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Jackie Larson. I am the applicant. I don't actually own any land in the area. I own 7 Bar Farming, and we border this. So my family actually, their property borders on the Spanish Fork side with this. I'd like to point out a couple things in regard to the modifications that the proposed ag protection area of the removing the road areas indicated on the Spanish Fork letter. So Part 3 of the state code for 1741-303 or 301. This is for the ag protection. It outlines that the proposal for creation of an ag protected area may include within its boundaries land used for roadways, dwelling sites, park, or other non-agricultural use. However, Spanish Fork would like these areas indicated in the map for utility map exhibit to be removed with the reasoning that it would, quote, hamper the ability of different agencies to construct much needed roads and to improve utility services. Spanish Fork claims that they believe it would not adversely affect the proposed area by removing them. Well, if they're so confident in that, then why would they attempt to subvert the process outlined in the state code under Part 4 of the ag protection by excluding these sections of land from the ag protection with the modifications requested? Because Part 4 of the ag protection code applies after the application has been, like in the area has been approved. It outlines the procedure required that the political subdivision, before exercising eminent domain powers, has to obtain recommendations from the UDAF, so the Commissioner of Ag and Food, and the Ag Protection Advisory Committee. They would then suggest or propose any modifications to the development project that would potentially, or that would protect the integrity of the ag protected area. Spanish Fork does not have the right-of-ways they are requested to be excluded, nor do they own the property that they're asking for. The modifications they are requesting infers limits on the use of private property without any agreements or payments. It's not within the purview of the application I submitted to dedicate the right-of-ways to the city and county. This is not the mechanism for that, and that would deny them equal protection of the laws. There are easements through there, so there's the irrigation company, I think Bureau of Reclamation has one, and Drainage District has one. This doesn't affect how their easements can still operate, though. The transportation plan, like, it's not consistent, it's varied. It's changed at least twice just since this was noticed. So taking out those specific areas, I think it could be varied and it could change. It probably will change. Do that when the land develops. But under the Utah County Code transportation element, it says that the Utah State Code does not currently allow transportation corridors as identified in the jurisdiction's general plan to be held as open land for future transportation development without purchase of the proposed corridor. The state code provides that public roads can be created by use, but not by legislation, notice, or map. Such a map may not even provide sufficient constructive notice to warn landowners of the existence of such roads, much less establish them by that notice. State code does provide for the advanced acquisition of right-of-way for highways of regional significance. If you don't follow proper procedure outlined in the state code to acquire the land, I think you'd actually also possibly affect their greenbelt status and the Utah Relocation Assistance Act. So, I mean, crazy idea, but if you want their land, maybe try knocking on their door and have a conversation with them. They're not unreasonable. Like Rex said, they have purchased land from him for the Elk Ridge Connect, I call it the Mount Loafer Parkway, excuse me. Like I said, my family owns property within Spanish Fork city boundaries. We are the boundary of Spanish Fork and neighboring right adjacent to this. We've actually sold ground to this city for improvements for infrastructure and easements to them. So it's talk to them, ask them. That's all that these guys are wanting. So as some others have mentioned, the requested areas removed for the future roads would contribute to the farm tracts being broken into smaller parcels, which become less productive as an agricultural unit. So from what I gather from the requested utility modification is that if a neighboring property wants to develop, Spanish Fork intends to displace surrounding farmers and their families by taking their homes. Is that really something that you want to encourage? Not to single you out, Brandon, but in 2019, when you were the councilman for Spanish Fork City, you told the Eatons that the city would not take their land. Do you still stand by that as a county commissioner? So the city and county should go through the process of having the properties valued, agreeing on a compensation, and making the offer to purchase the property from landowners. One last thing I want to point out. 5 other ag protection applications have been renewed since 2019, all within the Spanish Fork policy boundary. All have utilities shown in their master plan, none of which Spanish Fork has asked for any modifications. Obviously, Spanish Fork is treating this application differently than the others within their boundaries. More than likely because I'm the applicant. But I'm asking that you maintain the integrity of the ag protection, dedicate the roads at the time of development to the city to have ownership. My family annexed 30 years ago, married to the 6th generation farmer out there. I have no plans of ever having that legacy in my lifetime. Now, if somebody wants to remove their property from ag protection, they absolutely can. And if these guys want to help to do it, I will gladly help them do so. But until then, enable the farmers to run their business with greater peace of mind and less worry about the external forces disrupting their livelihoods. You do have the discretion to approve or reject the application and any modifications. I'm asking that your approval today be consistent with both the Ag Protection Advisory Board and the Planning Commission. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jackie. Anyone else? Jared?
Sorry, I just want to clarify, Jared Johnson with Spanish Fork City. We're not asking for Mount Loafer Parkway, so I think a lot of people come up here and are confused with that the Mount Loafer Parkway is being asked by Spanish Fork. We're not asking for that. We're just asking for the existing roads, and we're not asking that they be dedicated or improved at this time. They would have to be annexed into the city, then approved for development, and then approved. We're just asking that the roads be taken out of the ag protection zone in case we actually have to build them on either side of it and continue it through in the county. They're already in the city on the north and the south side. If those properties develop, we just have a county road in between them, which is a 24-foot wide asphalt road. We'd like to have the ability to improve that to a 30-foot curb and gutter road. It wouldn't be taking any property. Their property would actually have to be developed and annexed into the city for that to happen. Does that?
Which is triggered by them.
Which is triggered by them.
Correct.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Thanks, Jared.
One more thing about the roads, even the existing ones that they're wanting to use. Sorry, Jackie Larson.
I'm sorry. You have to recognize us if you're going to come back for a second time.
May I come back?
We'll give you another minute.
Okay, it won't take that long. There's wells within that stretch, like kind of how he's wanting to widen it. There are several existing wells with water rights that would impede on that as well. So just that. Thanks.
Thank you. X, come on back up.
Can I add something?
Yeah, we would not deny the Godfather right to speak.
Rex Larson again, landowner. I just want to emphasize again why I'm against the city's exclusions. They can come talk to us. Leave our ground intact to the existing roads. And then if they want to come and expand, then come talk to us, just like the county has. I don't see any reason for that to be taken out at this time and not included in the ag protection. That, as I mentioned before, that gives them an opportunity for eminent domain, which the ag protection ordinance helps prevent. And so I think we need to consider that. You know, let them come talk to us when the time comes, when they think they're going to develop or whatever, then let's talk and figure it out. But now's not the time. Keep it in agriculture as long as we can. Thank you.
Thanks, Rex. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to go out of public hearing.
I'll make a motion that we close and go out of public comment.
Okay, I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
I'll second that motion.
Oh, thank you,
Aye.
Commissioner.
I'm here now.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Sakovic, a second by Commissioner Powers Gardner. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're now
Aye.
at public hearing. I had a question. I think the reason we are here, right, is to continue letting farmers farm, right? And I don't think anybody wants to stop that. Are any of those roads open range through that area? Yeah, so in the event that those roads, if we're talking about protecting ag, and if we were to leave those roads out, right, and someone hits someone's livestock, they lose that protection. Is that correct, Rob?
So in Utah County has adopted in the valley, on the valley floor, it's all fence in. If it's up in the canyons, it's all fence out. So anything, if someone were to hit, if a property owner has a cow and they don't fence that cow in the valley floor, and that cow gets onto a county road and someone hits that cow and is injured or killed, that farmer could be liable for that. That we are a fence in the valley floor and a fence out and up in the canyons. And we've been that way for decades, maybe longer.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
He's experienced.
On a
Tad.
on a cattle right-of-way road, which 73 is a cattle
Let me,
right-of-way road.
sorry, Tad, we've got 1 million viewers online. It can't hear you. So I'm going to let you come up to the microphone and we'll let you just address that. I'm going to break the rules, Rob.
But
I
I'll
know.
say that ag protection doesn't really address that issue.
Okay.
I mean, so it's kind of irrelevant to the issue of ag protection.
Okay.
Tad Waite, a landowner. On 7300 is a designated cattle drive road. So in that aspect, if a car hits a cow on 7300, the driver is at fault.
I've had that situation before. That's why I brought it up.
And it depends on it depends on the reading of the statute. If they hit that cow and it's in a drive, that's one thing. But if it's just because they let the cow wander off their property,
Okay,
it's a
that's
different
what you're
issue.
getting at.
Yeah.
Understood. Understood. Commissioner Gardner, you've joined us. Do you have any questions or? Commissioner Sack?
No, I think this is this is a fairly complicated scenario here. I mean, even whether or not the roads are exempted, I can't imagine that the city wouldn't still be required to go knock on somebody's door and have a chat. It just makes it easier. And so, I mean, I think there's a lot of nuance in this issue that I'm not necessarily clear on, and I also don't know if everybody else is clear on it as well. So I guess the only question I would have here is, if the roads are exempted from the ag protection area, does anything still prevent the city from going and knocking on the doors of people, just like they would in the ag protection area?
Can you answer that question, Rob?
So to answer your question, Commissioner, the city would still be required, if they're going to widen their road beyond their current right-of-way, they would be required to go and visit with the property owners and to acquire that additional right-of-way. If they're, whether it's an ag protection or whether it's not an ag protection, they're going to be required to go and visit with the property owner. As mentioned by the city, if the property owner is the one who wants to develop, then they may be required to annex, they may be required to develop to a standard that the city provides to them. The only real issue, and I think Rex brought this up, is the eminent domain provision. So no matter what, they're going to have to go visit with the property owner to widen the road. There is a provision, a protection for eminent domain if it is an ag protection. That protection in eminent domain basically means the city would have to go back and go to the Ag Protection Board to ask that it be removed, at least that portion, so that they can exercise eminent domain. It adds, it's more difficult, of course it is, to do that. And so it provides, I guess, a greater protection to the property owner. But that's a long answer to your question. The real answer, though, is that either event, they have to go visit with the property owner. They can't just go take the property without doing so. State law for eminent domain requires that anyway, to visit with the property owner, to go and provide them all kinds of notifications, et cetera, and a reasonable offer, et cetera, for those kinds of things. So yeah, that has to happen.
For my part, you were saying we have until early May. Do we have a firm date what that early May means?
Kevin, please.
It's Kevin with Community Development. According to state code, we have until May 11th. Everything has to be completed. And I believe we have a commission meeting. That's a Thursday, so we have one on the 3rd, unless that one got changed.
No, that's the third is still in place, I believe.
Yeah, we have a commission meeting next week, and then we have one on the 3rd.
Okay. like Commissioner Gardner was saying, that there's a lot of moving parts and some concerns. I want to make sure that they're vetted. Maybe we should continue this a little bit longer just to make sure that the owners are happy with what we've discussed so far.
It's later on in our agenda, and we can discuss that when we're
Yeah.
trying to put together
Yeah, okay,
the consent.
yeah.
Just
It's
to address one
item
comment from
39.
Jackie, not to single me out, but you did, and so I get to address that. The beauty of your comment about Doc Eaton is I can call him, and even if he's in the Bahamas, he answers his phone, only to rub it in that he's in the Bahamas, right? But I think the important point that's been made over and over is that the people in this room have proven that they get together and have worked to make things work. That won't always be the case. There will be different generations to come, and so I see the argument from both sides, having had over a decade of government experience, and that the importance of planning is important. However, not very many farm fields separate our family farm, and I understand the importance of protecting ag. So, as well said here, the beauty is that I can pick up and probably call most of you and have a great conversation, and I think that's what we're losing, and we don't want to lose that. We want to be able to still maintain the ability to call and talk to each other and work it out. So.
Okay.
It sounds like you're inclined to maybe
We
table it for a week?
Well, it's a public hearing, so we've heard it. We can just, when we get to item 39, we can then formally decide there.
Okay. Any other comments, Commissioner Gardner?
Nope, none from me.
Okay. All right, now we will build our consent agenda. As we move through, we start with items 1 through 10. On item 9, we basically want to have that worded that we will, basically we're asking for the ability for the Sheriff's Department to approve an online agreement. And so if we could add that into item number 9, and then we're going to continue item 10 until next commission meeting, which is that next week?
Yep.
To the 19th?
19th.
Okay, so we could continue item 10 to next week. Anything else from the commissioners?
I
1
don't
through
have
10?
any.
Okay. How about 11 through 20? Item 19 is an approve or deny. Does anyone have anything to the contrary on item 19?
I don't.
Weren't we going to
I
continue
did
item
want to
10?
discuss whether. I'm sorry. I did want to discuss on item number 19 if we are okay with them waiving any insurance. So I see that there is security, so they want to waive security fees because they've got security, and they want to waive rent. But I'm wondering if did they also ask to waive any insurance liability?
Did you see that, Rob?
There he did. Yeah.
They have their own, right?
No, a different issue. Sorry, she was asking about the public
okay.
hearing. Yeah.
Ben, do you want to?
Yeah, my foot's asleep, sorry.
Somebody want to carry Ben? to
I just wondering if I want to hold that item. Basically, I'm wondering if I want to hold that item, and so that's what I did have questions on that. We could just hold it, and I could ask the questions when we're finished building our consent agenda.
Yeah, this is Ben Stanley with the County Attorney's Office. It does look like they are asking to waive those insurance costs as well. So they're asking for all three, a waiver of the permit fee, the insurance requirement, and the security costs.
Yeah. So we'll hold.
You want to hold 19? Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Brandon, didn't we want to continue item 10?
He did that.
We have
Oh, you
said
did
that.
that? Okay.
Yeah, we're continuing 10. Yep. And then items 20 to 29.
I don't have any. 20 to 20.
I don't have any.
Okay, I don't have any either. In items 30 through 39, we're going to strike item 35. And we're going to hold item 39.
Hold 39. Okay. Item 36, minor item. Alice, at the end of the agenda item, it says for $584.20 reason. The word reason should probably be stricken out of that thing.
Okay, very good. Anything else? Okay. Items 40 through 49. On item 44, we want to, it's my understanding that Jim Evans, former mayor of Orem, is not here. So we want to continue that.
Yeah,
Till May
an
3rd.
email I got, he talked about continuing to early May, so to
Terrific.
May 3rd.
Okay.
On item 44, just be advised, sorry, item 45, if I could, be advised that the TTAB board recommended $500,000 to be part of that purchase that item 45 covers. So that should cover the gap, if you will.
Very good.
And
Thank
that
you.
previous 1.1 roughly
Yeah.
is money that was returned to us from Smashworks
Smashworks.
that we're now returning back to Smashworks. So there's no new monies there.
Correct.
Okay.
No general fund money.
Thank you.
No general fund.
Okay, anything else from that section 40 to 49?
I have none.
Okay, and then the final, anything on item 50? I don't
I've
think so.
asked if we would hold item 50.
Okay,
A couple of questions I had on that.
hold 50. And then we are going to hold 51, hold 52, strike 53, and hold 54.
Thank you.
Did I miss anything? All right. Alice, you want to?
Yes, and I
Confirm that,
apologize.
please.
I was doing something. What did you say about item number 9?
Item number 9, we just want it to also state approve an online agreement
Okay.
By the sheriff's office.
by the sheriff's office.
It's a click and
To
sign.
allow the sheriff's office to enter into that agreement, to click it online.
Okay. Other than that, it's approved on consent.
Correct.
Correct. Okay.
Yep.
And then as far as the rest of the items, we're going to continue agenda item number 10 to April 19th. Holding item 19, 39, continuing 44 to the May 3rd meeting, and holding 50. And then as far as closed meetings, we're going to hold as stated 51, 52, striking 53, and holding as stated 54.
And did you have strike 35? I didn't hear you say that one.
Yes, I have that.
Okay,
So I
terrific.
apologize if I didn't say
Nope,
that.
that's as long as we're on the same page. Okay. I have a motion to approve the consent items.
I'm sorry. Which one?
Do we need a motion to approve those?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll make the motion that we adopt. Continue.
Yeah, I'll second.
Just the consent agenda.
Yeah,
and
just
then
the
we'll go through.
consent items.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
We have a motion by Commissioner Sakovic, a second by Commissioner Powers Gardner. All in favor, say aye.
I
Aye.
should stop reading when we're.
You're
Aye.
good. You're good. Okay, so let's see, back to our first, let's see, I believe discussion was on item 19. And this is the insurance, the discussion of insurance requirements.
Yes, good afternoon, Commissioners. This is Ben Stanley with the County Attorney's Office. Public Works received a request from the Out Foundation, which is the parent and sponsor of Cougar Pride Center. They want to celebrate LGBTQ plus students and alumni of Brigham Young University, have an event on April 29th. They have requested in their letter, I actually reread their email, which is an attached document for your consideration. That letter indicates that they are asking specifically for the waiver of the event permit fee and for a waiver of the security costs. They have Provo Police, I understand, that will be providing some security at their event. Their letter doesn't specifically mention insurance, but when Public Works put in the agenda item, they did list insurance as one of the waiver requests in the action item. So I think it would make sense for this board to consider all three of those requests. Should we waive the insurance? Should we waive the event permit fee? And should we waive the security costs? Those are the requests that are in the action item.
So this is the first time for this event in the county?
I believe this is the first time. It's the first I've heard of it, and I'm not intimately familiar with this particular agenda item, but I know that Public Works received this request, and so they have forwarded it on to you to consider.
The insurance piece, so do we know whether they have their own insurance for this or not?
I'm just getting a message from David Schill
Okay,
saying we have insurance already.
okay.
And yet, would you ask them how much insurance coverage they have?
Well, they would meet our county requirements.
Is that all right?
Well, it's Cheryl.
Yeah. Yes, please.
He just needs to unmute.
Hello, this is David with the Python. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Commissioner. So, yes, we do have event insurance, and it's to Provo's requirements. So we have $1 million per incident and then $2 million aggregate. And we can list the county as an additional insured if that's what you're requiring.
So they have $1 million in personal?
1 million and a 2 million, 1 million, 2 million aggregate.
Okay.
And list us as an additional insured would meet our requirements, our typical.
Actually, what our requirements are in the county is 3 million per occurrence. And so oftentimes parties will have a 1 million per occurrence and a 3 million aggregate, and we don't see that as sufficient. Sometimes they'll have an umbrella or an excess liability policy, and we still insist that it be per occurrence for that excess liability. But if there is excess or umbrella coverage that will reach 3 million per occurrence, that's what we typically insist upon, although the commission does have the power, if they find it in the best interest of the people of the county, to reduce that requirement or waive the requirement.
So April 29th, which is what?
David, do you know if your policy is for this specific event, or is it an annual policy?
This is just for specific events.
Okay. Yeah, typically when you buy just event insurance, you probably could, increase your limits for the 1 million, 3 million. And it's typically not a larger fee.
Yeah.
But I hate to, open a can of worms, and we either got to change it for the 1 million, 2 million for everybody, or it's to hold consistent to the 1 million, 3 million.
Yeah, again, what we typically expect is 3 million per occurrence. So even in a single event, there could be multiple occurrences that are insurance coverage liable kinds of events. And so we ask for 3 million per occurrence in all our events.
3 million, and then the aggregate could be 3 million.
The aggregate could be 3 million per occurrence. I don't know if it could. Yeah, our event permit forms say 3 million per occurrence, and we're pretty insistent that people have 3 million per occurrence. And so oftentimes you'll see people or entities that come in with 1 million per occurrence and a 3 million aggregate, and we don't see that as sufficient. We say that that's not 3 million per occurrence. It's not going to meet our coverage, and they have to either work with their insurance to get a supplemental or a rider or something that will give them a little more coverage.
Yeah. So let me address that if I could. The reason why it's 3 million per occurrence is, as you know, Utah County is covered by governmental immunity, Utah Governmental Immunity Act, and that has a $3 million, basically, we cover the first 3 million of that. And then that's our cap. And so by having this event, the event sponsors need to cover that first 3 million so that we truly are not impacted. The county government is not impacted because we are insured for any kind of, something happens during this event, someone gets hurt, or even worse, a death, that can easily go beyond $3 million. And so in our experience, we require that because, again, the Government Immunity Act protects us above $3 million, but for the first $3 million, it does not. And that's why we require these sponsors to do that.
Okay.
Any other comments, Commissioner Gardner?
Yeah, so I've got no problem with the permit fee being waived. So I'm fine. So I'm kind of going to look at this in like three parts. The permit fee, I'm fine with waiving that. With the security fee, does the sheriff's office have any issues with waiving the security fee if we have two Provo PD officers on? I just wanted to make sure that they were okay with that. If they're okay with it, I'm okay with it. And then the insurance, I think we just need to make sure that they're carrying events insurance.
Yeah, it looks like the sheriff's office maybe has stepped out of the office, but they're inviting the sheriff back in to see if he wants to speak to that specific question on security On the insurance, it sounds like they do have some, but it may not meet our requirements, and so we would either ask them to supplement that or come for a waiver in the form of a reduction of the requirement. They would need to name Utah County as an additional insured or as a certificate holder, and they would have to have 3 million per occurrence by our standard policy.
So, commissioners, related to the insurance, you could approve it the way we talked about, meaning that you approve the waiver of the fee, and depending upon what the sheriff talks about, it related to officers, and then you leave the insurance as it is. If that's not sufficient, you can come back, there's still time, or we can continue the whole thing for a week and let them come back and address that issue more fully next week. So that you still have some time. This is not till April 29th, so.
Yeah.
They'll be on the premise for 30 minutes. Just wanted to point that out. That was
And collecting prior to, of course.
yeah, Sheriff.
Mike Smith, Utah County Sheriff. Not specific to this request, but I would just say in general, this would be our hesitation, is these type of requests come up. I don't know if you could say frequently, but they come up. They've come up over the years. And the reality is we have to pay for that out of our budget. So there's, I would think if we want to make accommodations that way, it would be nice if there was something that paid for it other than just a continual, well, your budget's going to cover this, and there was where the person requesting is really the one supposed to cover this, and now we're just pulling it out of our budget to cover it for them. That would be, and not specific to their request, but just in general, that would be my problem with doing this. So if the county wants to have that practice, I would think if we had some sort of budget to say, okay, if we want to make an accommodation, this is how we pay for it, because there still is a cost to it.
Sheriff, on this one, they have, I guess, identified 2 Provo PD officers that would come during this event and basically provide security. With that, does that change anything related to what you just said? Is that sufficient in your mind if they have Provo PD officers as opposed to deputies here for the security of the event?
As far as I'm concerned, I'm okay with that, other than if we're as a whole okay with not having our employees on the premise to make sure that our facilities are secure. Not that Provo PD can't do it, but.
Doesn't it say we're waiving the security? I mean, doesn't that benefit us by us saying we waive security? And so.
Are they asking security waived completely or the fees waived?
Yeah, they request a fee waiver for any required security from the sheriff's office. Security will be provided by 2 Provo police officers is the request in their email. So they're saying they don't want to pay the charge that is normally imposed by the sheriff's office to try to get these Provo police officers to provide the service instead.
And we could require them to provide proof that they're having Provo PD officers if we wanted to waive that too.
I'm okay with that request if the county's okay with, I completely trust Provo PD to do a good job, so.
How often do we get a request like this?
Not too often.
Not too often. I think the sheriff's office only charges a security cost if it's an after hours or a weekend kind of event anyway. So normally our regular security is sufficient. So most event permits on our building and grounds don't request a security waiver, but you do see it periodically. For a wedding reception on a Saturday or something, you'll see that request come up from time to time.
Okay.
So we could actually approve this contingent on the insurance amount and confirmation that Provo.
Well, what we could approve is we could approve waiving the event permit, and we could approve waiving the security fee because they're providing their own security, and then just approve those 2 things. And then for them, in order to get the permit, they're going to have to prove they have the insurance. If they can't get the insurance, then they could come back for another waiver for the insurance. So we would approve the waiver of the security fee and the waiver of the event fee, but then require them to have insurance. And then that gives them, in 2 weeks, they could come in 1 week, they could come back and ask for an insurance waiver if for some reason they can't get the insurance. But I feel comfortable with that. So I would be willing to make a motion to say, on this item, I would approve a waiver of the event permit fee and the security fee, but ask that they provide standard insurance.
And if we say approved or contingent that they provide that proof, they could go to the civil division, show the proof, and we wouldn't have to bring it up here again.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just include that language contingent on the insurance requirement. Then we
Yeah, and we just have someone in the county that collects the certificates and manages that, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
just
Let me
go
also
through it.
ask that we make it that they would provide proof of the law enforcement.
Yeah.
That can provide security.
continue.
They've already said they're going to do that, so it's just
Yes,
easy
that-
to get something from them. Yeah.
Okay.
You okay to add that, Commissioner
Yep,
Gardner?
that could be a friend. Yep, I'm okay adding that to my motion. Yeah.
Okay. So I can approve that language in item number 19.
Okay, so that's a second?
I'm sorry, second
You're
that
good?
motion.
Okay.
Yes.
A motion by Commissioner Gardner, a second by Commissioner Sakovic. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, terrific, that passes. Now, we will move to item 39. This is for the ag protection, and I think we just need a formal, you want to hold that to the next meeting? Is that what you're inclined to do?
Yeah, I would like to continue it. I would like to continue it until the May 3rd meeting. I don't know if 1 week is enough time for me to chat with folks and get clarity, so I would like to continue it to the May 3rd meeting if possible.
And what's the date
May 3rd would be
that it would pass anyway?
11th.
May 11th, okay.
that gives us 8 days. And I can make a motion or support that motion to continue item 39 until May 3rd. Does that work?
Yeah. Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Sakovic to continue item 39 to May 3rd. Do I have a second?
Yep, I'll second that.
Thank you, Commissioner. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, that passes 3-0. Did we just continue 44 on consent, or does that? Yeah, okay, so we don't need to do anything there. And then Commissioner Sakovic, you wanted to talk about item 50?
Yeah, there was called let me pull it up. Call the assessor's office on Valor Line number 86499 and 84054. The confusion I had in reading that was the property owner is essentially saying that the personal property that is on that property is being used by someone who's renting that property. And I just need to confirm if that's the case. So if that is, then the holding owner of the property, should he be also paying a proper personal property tax on that equipment if the renter is already it should be obligated to pay it instead?
Paulette Stetzer with the assessor's office. That would be the case depending on what the lease agreement says. But as I stated earlier, the information that I obtained, everything that we're seeing on there that he's asking to have abated, he actually provided documentation for. And due to the fact that he can't speak on behalf of the business owner itself at that location, we were unable to give him any further information. So we had advised him, David Forrest, that he needed a letter of authorization in order for us to talk to him in regards to the other entity's
Okay.
business. And without a letter of authorization, we're unable to do so by statute.
Okay. But you did reach out recently to ask for that letter?
I verified that with my auditor. So yes, everything that, like I said, that is listed on there was picked up by receipts and depreciation schedules and financials that he had provided to the auditor from the
Okay.
Utah State Tax Commission.
Yeah, because according to in the write-up, it left out the renters as to what their relationship is with that personal property. So it leaves me as to who really owns the tax on that personal property.
Correct.
So until we hear more definitive answers, I may want to just continue those two pieces until we have more information At least that's my view of that particular item. I don't know what you've seen of it. Okay.
Commissioner Gardner, do you have anything to add on item 50?
No, I don't.
And that last, third one, it says owners, probably should read co-owner, but even the other person is deceased now, but that's the Greenbelt rollback billing day was January 2018. And payment due date, February, was that not paid? Excuse me, I read it here. It says October 2022 it was paid 4 years later.
Yeah, it looks like it was paid. Adam Beck, County Attorney's Office. Looks like it was paid. Now they're asking for a refund of the penalties and interest that were accrued over that time frame.
Which is about almost $100.
No, it's
I see
about $3,900.
I see $100 for payment and fees.
Oh yeah, the penalties was $100. The interest over that time frame was $3,716.28.
And she is saying because of the death, and she did not realize there were some changes made. How long ago since the death, do you know?
I believe her husband died in March of 2022. And so, we're sympathetic to the situation, but it had been going on far before 2022.
Since 2018.
Right.
Have the owners or owner reached out and gave any more details to why it was delinquent so long? In my mind, again, I'm thinking, all of us had family or friends that we've had to care for over a long period of time. Did they fail in this because they were distracted by his failing health before he passed away? And I apologize for misreading the number because of all the pages, there's that one page that's upside down. So I'm trying to read in there.
Okay.
Make sure I get the numbers right here.
There is the owner's statement of the circumstances and relief.
March of 2022.
Yeah, that was all that was provided to us, and at least as far as our recommendation, we like to be consistent.
Right.
So that is why the recommendation is as it is.
If I had more information, it would help. My preference is to go with the request to reduce it down to 94.93.16 because we don't have any background. What was going on that it wasn't filed if he was dying and just passed away last month? Was this a lead up to that? It was a distraction for her and the rest of the family that they didn't do this? And was he doing it all prior to whatever happened?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we could speak to that, but what we can speak to is that based off of the input from the treasurer's office, we had been sending out those notices. We had been doing it for a long time, that there had never been any return notice. So those were being received.
Okay.
And so it is our understanding that they had notice that the taxes were due, and so that's kind of our current stance.
Okay. Okay, I get it.
So once again, staff recommendation.
Staff recommendation is to deny this request for the penalties and interest to be abated.
Okay.
By approving all the tax actions, correct? Item 50?
Yes.
Okay, I understand.
But Commissioner Sakovic, you wanted to continue the Volvoline?
First two, because we don't have enough answers. Those are also recommended to deny, but we don't have an answer as to who really owes the taxes on that personal property. There's two Volvoline items there. Okay.
So then typically, will the assessor follow up, and how does that work if you were to do something like that? For my understanding.
I can reach out to David Forrest in regards to that, but he was aware that we needed something from Ryan or the other business owners stating that But like I said, everything that's listed there, he provided documents and financials for as stating that that entity owned. So, my opinion, they belong to Valvoline or the other entity of,
It's,
there's a Ashland Inc.
yeah, it's two auto shops, I think.
So, and that was per the Utah State Tax Commission auditor.
Okay. And that I'm fine with. I just want to know who actually is obligated to pay the personal property, and the description didn't really clear that for me.
Correct.
Okay.
But it would be them.
So,
On that one, that help you?
yeah, that would
Okay.
help me. So the first two, I would like to continue that until we get answers on those first two Valvoline items.
Okay.
And that way we come back, we know who actually owes the tax, and then go from there.
Okay, and can I ask, I guess I want to make sure I understand, because as I stated, per the financials that he provided to the Utah State Tax Commission auditor, they own that equipment. And that was some of the items that were listed on the equipment list weren't previously being reported. So yes, their taxes did go up
Right.
because it was escaped property.
Right.
So,
Yeah, the question for me was, how long was that entity renting that facility and using that personal property? And if Valvoline had been paying the personal property taxes prior to, then at least you could see a history that he should absorb this past year's property tax. Does that make sense?
it does. Each business owner is responsible for reporting only what equipment they own. And in this case, he wouldn't have had financials or receipts to provide to the auditor when the audit was conducted. So I'm looking at it from a whole nother perspective, I think.
Okay.
If you don't own it, you don't own it. But he didn't have a letter of authorization from the other person operating in that location
Right.
stating he could speak on his behalf or even provide a lease list of what equipment he's actually leasing from him and what the agreement states. Most agreements state who will be paying the personal property taxes. So whether
You
it's
have
the
not
less,
received that from Valvoline
No.
yet, and that's the
that
crux
is
we're under.
correct.
It's
And
been requested, sounds like.
But
and he
you
had
did
a-
request that,
Yeah.
He
correct?
was very well aware of what we needed from him, and he was given that information from the auditor from the Utah State Tax Commission as well.
Okay.
So,
Okay, then I'll change my, my consideration then. I'll go ahead and vote to support denial of both those Valvolines.
Thank you.
And apparently, so this other one, the third one too, so for all three of them.
Okay. So it looks like I would entertain a motion to approve item 50.
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
I'll second that.
thank you. Motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, we've moved to the part of our meeting where we have public comment. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address the commission? Okay, seeing none, we will move to closed session. Thank you, everyone.